So just to review, we had discussed how different layers have different masking behavior, and different convolution NFC layers, they have different reliability properties. Now let us see the reliability of different data structures and data formats. So by data format, I mean this, FP 16, 32, 64 in FP versus fixed point values, and weights versus activations. So first let us ask you. Let us ask you. What do you think? That suppose I have two options. One is I use a binarized weight. Okay, that means I have only one bit, which can be 0 and 1. Okay, all my weights are binary. So when we are storing 0, that means the weight is -1. And when I store 1, my weight is +1. That is one option. Okay, suppose I have LXNet, and LXNet can have just 60 million weights. Now those weights option number 1, they are binary weights. That means they can take the value -1 or +1. Okay, that is option 1. Second option is I still have 60 million weights, but they are 32-bit floating point weight. That means single precision weights. Okay, each weight is 32 bits. Okay, so two options you understood, right? One is binary weights, 60 million of them. Another is single precision floating point weights, 60 million of them. Now some errors are happening. Suppose some particles are spiking, some bits are clicking from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. In which of these two cases will have larger impact of a fault on the final accuracy of the LXNet? Try to reason. Let us see, this was your interview question. And the interviewer will ask you, okay, you can't give the final solution, at least tell me what is your reasoning. So what will be your reasoning?
Maybe binarized, because as there are only two states, so if an attack has happened, there would be much likely to lower the accuracy, as there are only two possible states.
So you're saying it will have much. That means binarized LXNet will have poor resilience. Okay, that is your answer. Any other perspective or any other way of thinking?
Sir, in floating point, if the exponential bits are flipped, there will be a large error. So I think binary are more resilient than this floating point.
Very nice. Okay, very nice. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Yeah. So let us go through. So this is the correct answer. Okay. We'll now discuss it in more detail. So activations are more robust than weights. So first of all, let us discuss weights and activation. That the answer of Srinivas is correct. We'll give more explanation when we come to that slide. Activation. So you know what is activation. You know what is weights. So for example, weights is, for example, we have a trained neural network, and for that we have certain weights. Now we have input, right? The first layer has the input image. So that will be called input activation. So you multiply the input activation with the weights, you get the output activation. And output activation of one layer becomes the input activation of the next layer, right? So that's what we are calling activation. So activations are more robust than weights. That means if you change the activations, the impact on the final accuracy is lower. But if you change the weights, impact on the final accuracy is higher. So the reason, one of the reasons could be that activation values, see if you change the weight values, okay, if you change the weight values, then all the images, that means all the inputs that you feed to these networks, they will all become wrong, right? If you change just one or two weights, then that will have impact on any input that you supply to this LXNet will go through that weight. That means it will have interaction with that weight. But if you change the activation of corresponding to just one input, only that input is affected. Next input is not affected, because next input will have its own activations. right? Is it clear? Okay, so I hope this point is clear. So, so in this way, you to see that every for every input we have certain activations. Now, if you change that activation, only that input's accuracy is affected. That means what is the prediction for that input is affected. But if you change the weights, then that will have an effect on all the inputs that are supplied to this neural network. So that's why now, based on this, once you know that something is more reliable, something is less reliable, then you give more protection to the something which is less reliable, which is more vulnerable. For example, like suppose, I mean, I should not discuss the example, but in the second wave, all the doctors or hospitals, they were giving priority to those patients that can be cured, right? Those that cannot be cured, probably they'll have to save them. So or something like that. So at maybe in normal times, you know that okay, this person is likely to get hurt, right? Suppose some VIP. Then we should give more, or he has more threat, or he has less resilience. Then you first take care of that. Okay. So, healthy people, we don't worry so much. Maybe first let us worry about sick people. So depending on your priorities, you may give more protection or less protection to based on their vulnerability or their resilience or their importance. This is very, very natural. So for example, we may use ECC only for weights because weights, if any change happens in the weights, it will have a lot of impact on the accuracy. So let us protect them. Activations are not so important. Okay. Now here is reliability of FP16, FP32, and FP64. So we are comparing how much reliable they are. Now, so if there is a fault in the Menti-subit, we know it has negligible impact on the accuracy. I hope everybody agrees with that. So for example, we have exponent bit. We have one sign bit. Then we have certain number of exponent bit, and then we have certain number of Menti-subits. So if you change these bits, it has very small impact on the accuracy. But if you change any of the exponent bit, it has high impact on the accuracy. Okay. So with decreasing precision, there is a reduction in the failure in time rate. I will explain what is this FIT rate in execution time. So see, let us see this point. Suppose we have this FP16 and let us compare it. Okay, so this is suppose FP64. Of course, they will have different number of exponent bits. Suppose this is X, this is Y. So see, FP16 will have some number of exponent bits. This will have another number of exponent bits. Now, with the decreasing precision, that means when you go from FP64 to FP16, okay. Now here you have many more number of Menti-subits and more number of exponent bits, right? Here you have 8 exponent bits. So sorry, here you have 11, and here you have I think only 5. Right. So if you're sending charged particles randomly, right, you have more chances of hitting the exponent bits here. Okay, you have, because here there are 11 exponent bits, whereas here there are only 5 exponent bits. So it is more likely that when you randomly send some, suppose you randomly throw darts, the area which is larger in size, that will get more number of darts, right? The area which is very, very small, which is the central area, that will have very small number of darts. So this part will have more. I mean, that means this FP64 has high likelihood of will have high number of failures, whereas this has only 5 exponent bits. So that's why, right? That's why it will have less number of failures. So that's why it says probability of corrupting exponent of number in. This is opposite argument. This is another argument. So that's why these are actually. That's why I said it's not a single answer. There's a trade-off. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Suppose so the whole point is the assumption is if you are sending for FP16 and FP64, if you send the same number of darts, by dart I mean some charge particle which is causing a soft error. Okay, so when you send same number of darts, then it is more likely that it will have here there are more number of exponent bits. So through some argument you can say that you are more likely to hit these exponent bits. Okay. However, if you see the percentage of exponent bits, here it is 5 by 16, and here it is 11 by 64. Okay. Here it is 11 by 64. So percentage wise, this is higher percentage. Okay. The fraction of that means the fraction of exponent bits that are there in FP16, they're higher. If you calculate this fraction, it is lower, but whereas this fraction is higher. So the probability of corrupting exponent of a number in FP16 is higher. Okay, so this is the trade-off, right? I'm not giving a final answer. Which one is more reliable? Which one is less reliable? I'm not giving that answer because there is no single answer. But if you see, you have to decide what is your assumption. What is the similar? I mean, what is your experimental conditions or assumptions? So first part, probability of corrupting exponent of a number in FP16 is higher because here it is only 5 by 16, here it is 11 by 64, and in FP32 there are 8 by 32. Okay, in FP32. Now let us see. Errors in LSB of an FP60 number have higher impact than those in the LSBs of an FP32. So here, for example, if you flip this versus if you flip this. Okay, so here if you flip this bit, right? If you flip this bit, then it is really maybe like maybe 15th decimal point, right? Everybody agrees, right? FP64 has it is double precision. That means it gives you 15 around 15 or 16 significant digits after decimal. So if you hit the last bit here in FP64, then it is only affecting 15th point after the decimal point. Whereas in FP16, you usually get 3 or 4 significant digits. So you are affecting only 4th bit after decimal. So that's why if you are throwing errors on the LSB, then that error will have more impact here. Okay, that error will have more impact here. Is it clear? Anybody has any questions on this point? If you attack the least significant bit, that least significant bit has higher significance in FP16 than it has in FP64, because in FP64 it has an impact on the 15th digit after decimal, whereas in FP16 it has impact on 3rd or 4th digit after decimal. Okay, so that is this point, and this point was probability of corrupting exponent of a number is higher based on this 5 by. If you just take just the probability 5 by 16 or 7 by 64 and this 8 by 32, and this point was here with decreasing precision there is a reduction in the execution time. Okay, so how? Because with higher precision it is FP64, and from approximate computing idea we have already discussed that when you reduce the precision, your computations get over more quickly, because see, an FP64 multiplication will take more time. Suppose it takes 4 cycles, whereas FP16 multiplication may only take 2 cycles or 3 cycles. Right? So now suppose your application is running for 5 hours versus it is running for 10 hours. Okay, suppose case number 1, your application is running only for 5 hours. Another case number 2, your same application, it is running for 10 hours. So when it is running for 10 hours, there are more chances that it will get some soft error. Is that true, right? If it is only running for 5 hours, in every hour, suppose there are 100 particles coming. So if it is running for 5 hours, it will get only 500 charge particles. But if it is running for 10 hours, it will get 1,000 charge particles, right? Double the number of charge particles. Okay, so from that perspective, it will get different number of errors. That's what this point. Decreasing precision. That means when you go to FP64, your application gets finished more quickly. Okay, your application is finishing faster. So that means it is vulnerable for less number of time. Okay, suppose somebody is working in sun. Now you are getting UV rays from the sky, right? If somebody is working only half an hour, he will get very little UV rays. But somebody who is working whole day in sun, hot sun, he will get lot of UV rays. That's the same idea. So any questions here? Okay. Now, compared to fixed point, FP has a larger dynamic range. So FXP means fixed point. So that's the point which I asked in the beginning. So see, the extreme case, if you can understand, then you can also understand intermediate case. In the binarized, if you change a number from -1, it can go to +1, and from +1, it can go to -1. So the change is just, the magnitude of change is just 2. Okay, but if you change a floating point number, if you change an exponent of it, its value can increase from, suppose, very small to very large. Right? Its value can go from very small to very large. So that's why that's why a fault in the exponent of FP can bring large change in the magnitude. That's why for the same total bit width, fixed point format is more robust than the FP format. So any questions here, please? I hope this is very important point about fixed point versus floating point. If you have not understood, please ask. So I'll give an example. I think. Let me show one example. Something. Okay, I think I should open that sheet. Okay, so we'll have just a minute. Okay, let me share this screen so it is more. Okay, so I hope you can see my. So I entered some number, suppose just 2.34, and this is its binary representation. Now, suppose here I change this number from 0, I change it to 1. Now this 2.34 becomes 10 raised to power 19. It increases to such a large value. Okay, everybody can understand this point. So just by changing one bit from 0 to 1, I have increased a number from just 2 to 10 raised to power 19. That's why it is a very big change. Okay, so this is the whole point. So for the same total bit width, fixed point format is more robust than floating point format. So that's why if you go to the other extreme, if it is binary quantized, its range is very small, just -1 to +1. So even if you change it, it's very small in fact. Similarly, for fixed point formats with same total bit width, suppose you have total bit width is 10. With 10, you can either have 2 integer bits and 8 fractional bits, 3 integer bits and 7 fractional bits, 7 integer bits and 3 fractional bits. Okay, so out of this, the one with less number of integer bits, this is more robust compared to this. Why? Because if see now, so what we are saying is one with less number of integer bits is more robust. So that means this is more robust. Why? Because see, here there are only 2 integer bits. Here there are 7. So with 2 integer bits, assuming you have only unsigned number. So with two bits, you can either have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so your value can go from 0, it can go to 3, or from 3, it can go to 0. So that means the maximum change you can get is only plus 3, plus minus 3. Just just 1 minute. So sorry. Okay. So yeah, see. So here, because we have only 2 bits, so that's why if you ignore the fraction part, the integer part can be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now here it is 7 bits. So smallest number we can get is 0. What is the largest? Again, ignore the fraction part. What is the largest number we can get? With 7 bits. Sorry?
128.
Yeah, 127.
27, sorry.
Yeah. So here, if I change, so here my change was at most 3, right? Here I can get the changes 127. Okay. So here you can see that if I change the MSB, it can cause much larger change compared to what it causes here. Okay. So that's why the one with less number of integer bit is more robust, because here only a change will come of only 3, whereas here the change will come of 127. Any questions on this point? How? So the summary is that if the range is small, right? If the range is small, then probability of error is also very small. That means you can either go to this side to that side. That means from smallest to largest. Now, if that range is very small, that means you can go from smallest to largest to within only very small range. But if the range is very large, then from here to here, you can go a very large amount. Okay, and then the impact on the accuracy will be higher. Okay, so this is some. Okay, there are some more points. I will not go through them in very great detail, because